Watch a powerful man receive an apology, and you'll witness something that defies every expectation society has programmed into you. He listens, he nods, he acknowledges. But he doesn't say, "I forgive you." Not because he can't, not because he won't, but because he understands something about the nature of forgiveness that most people spend their entire lives missing. The words everyone expects to hear, those healing, reconciling, socially appropriate words, never come. And in that silence, something far more profound happens than forgiveness ever could. Here's what will disturb you about this approach. He's not withholding forgiveness as punishment. He's withholding it as protection, not for himself, but for the person asking for it. Most people treat forgiveness like a band-aid, something you slap on a wound to make the discomfort go away as quickly as possible. They want to return to normal, to restore harmony, to pretend the damage never happened. The powerful man sees this as spiritual malpractice. He knows that premature healing creates infected wounds, that rushed forgiveness breeds repeated offenses, that the quick fix becomes the permanent problem. So he does something that looks cruel but is actually the deepest form of love. He lets the wound stay open until it's truly clean. If you're watching this and feeling uncomfortable with this concept, comment "infected" below. Your resistance might be protecting something that needs to be examined. This practice stems from an ancient understanding that modern psychology has completely forgotten. Pain serves a purpose. Guilt has a function. Discomfort is not always meant to be relieved. The powerful man has observed something that weak men never notice. When you forgive someone before they've fully experienced the consequences of their actions, you rob them of the very experience that could transform them. You become complicit in their spiritual stagnation. The guilt they feel isn't punishment. It's information. The shame isn't torture. It's calibration. The regret isn't suffering. It's education. But here's where this gets really disturbing. Most people forgive not out of love, but out of their own discomfort with conflict. They can't stand the tension of unresolved relationship dynamics, so they forgive to make themselves feel better, not to help the other person grow. The powerful man is comfortable with tension. He can sit with unresolved energy for months, years, even decades if necessary, because he knows that resolution without transformation is just postponement. He'd rather have authentic healing take 10 years than fake healing take 10 minutes. This creates something remarkable. The people in his life know that when they wrong him, there will be real consequences. Not punishment, but natural results. Not revenge, but responsibility. And paradoxically, this makes them treat him with far more respect than they would someone who forgives easily. Follow me if you want to understand how this counterintuitive approach actually creates deeper, more authentic relationships than traditional forgiveness ever could. The powerful man has learned to distinguish between 3 types of apologies, and he responds to each one completely differently. The first type is the reflexive apology. "I'm sorry," spoken immediately after wrongdoing, before any real understanding has occurred. This is just social conditioning, a programmed response designed to restore comfort as quickly as possible. To this type of apology, he gives no response at all. Not cold silence, but neutral acknowledgement. He heard it. He registered it. But he's not going to reward reflexive behavior with forgiveness. The second type is the bargaining apology. "I'm sorry, please forgive me, I promise I'll never do it again." This comes when the person realizes their reflexive apology didn't work, and they're starting to feel real consequences. To this type, he might respond with questions. What exactly are you sorry for? What did you learn about yourself? What will you do differently? Not to be cruel, but to see if real understanding is developing. Comment bargaining. If you recognize this pattern in your own attempts to rush through consequences back to comfort. The third type is the transformational apology. This comes after the person has sat with their actions long enough to actually understand the deeper patterns that created the problem. They're not apologizing to get forgiveness. They're apologizing because they genuinely see how they caused harm. Only to this third type does the powerful man offer anything resembling forgiveness. But even then, it's not what people expect. He doesn't say, "I forgive you." He says, "I see that you understand." He acknowledges their growth without absolving them of natural consequences. The relationship may remain changed forever. Some trust may never be restored. Some closeness may be permanently lost. And the powerful man is completely at peace with this reality, because he understands something most people refuse to accept. Some actions create irreversible changes. Some words can't be unsaid. Some betrayals permanently alter the fabric of relationship. And pretending otherwise through premature forgiveness is just another form of dishonesty. Here's what nobody wants to hear about forgiveness. Real forgiveness isn't about restoring what was lost. It's about accepting what has changed. It's not about going back to how things were. It's about moving forward with clear eyes about how things are. The powerful man forgives by accepting reality completely, not by pretending the damage didn't happen, but by releasing any demand that reality be different than it is. This is why his forgiveness, when it finally comes, is so much more powerful than the quick version most people offer. It's based on truth rather than wishful thinking. It acknowledges consequences rather than pretending they don't exist. But here's the most shocking part of this entire approach. Sometimes real love means never forgiving at all. If someone continuously harms others and faces no consequences because people keep forgiving them, the loving thing to do is to stop enabling their destructive patterns. The powerful man will sometimes maintain permanent distance from someone, not out of resentment but out of recognition that forgiveness in their case would be cruelty to everyone else they might harm. Right, permanent if you understand that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is create boundaries that never come down. This requires a level of emotional maturity that most people never develop, the ability to act in alignment with what's truly helpful, rather than what feels good in the moment. Most people forgive because it feels spiritually superior. The powerful man withholds forgiveness when it serves the highest good, even if it makes him look uncompassionate to others. He's not concerned with his image as a forgiving person. He's concerned with the actual effects of his choices on the people involved. This is what real power looks like. The ability to choose the difficult path when it serves a higher purpose. The willingness to be misunderstood in service of truth. And paradoxically, this approach creates something that easy forgiveness never can. It creates change. When people know that wronging him will have real, lasting consequences, they become far more careful about their actions. They develop actual integrity rather than just learning to apologize effectively. The relationships that survive this process become unshakable, because they're built on truth rather than on the mutual agreement to avoid uncomfortable realities. Follow for more content that challenges conventional wisdom about relationships, power, and spiritual growth, because what I'm about to reveal will show you how this approach transforms not just individual relationships but entire social dynamics. The powerful man's approach to forgiveness creates what psychologists call intelligent consequences, natural results that teach appropriate lessons without additional punishment or drama. When someone lies to him, they lose access to sensitive information. When someone betrays his trust, they lose access to vulnerable sharing. When someone disrespects his boundaries, they lose access to his presence. These aren't punishments he imposes. They're natural protections that arise automatically when someone demonstrates they can't handle certain levels of relationship responsibility. And here's what's beautiful about this system. It teaches people to value what they have access to. When forgiveness comes easily, people take relationship privileges for granted. When it doesn't, they learn to treasure them. The people closest to the powerful man have earned their position through consistent demonstration of integrity, respect, and genuine care. They know their access to him is precious because they've seen how it can be lost. This creates relationships of extraordinary depth and authenticity, because everyone involved knows that their connection is based on real compatibility and mutual respect, not just on automatic forgiveness of incompatible behavior. Comment earned if you understand how this approach creates relationships based on merit rather than on tolerance of poor behavior. But this practice reveals something even more profound about the nature of human psychology and social dynamics. When the powerful man withholds forgiveness appropriately, he's not just protecting himself and teaching others, he's maintaining the integrity of moral boundaries in his entire social sphere. People watch how he responds to being wronged. They notice that harmful behavior has consequences in his presence. This creates a field of accountability that influences everyone around him. Others begin to hold themselves to higher standards, not out of fear, but out of recognition that excellence is valued and mediocrity isn't enabled. The social environment becomes one where people grow, rather than one where they stagnate in comfortable dysfunction. This is true leadership, not leading through words or inspiration, but leading through the consistent modeling of healthy boundaries and appropriate consequences. And it all begins with the radical act of withholding forgiveness until real change occurs. If you're feeling challenged by this perspective, write boundaries below and share what situation in your life might benefit from this approach. The powerful man eventually develops what could be called sacred timing around forgiveness. He can sense when someone has truly learned what they needed to learn from their mistake, when their guilt has done its transformative work, when their regret has created genuine insight. Only then does he offer what most people call forgiveness, but what he understands as acknowledgement of growth. I see that you've learned something important from this experience. I recognize that you've taken responsibility for your actions. I acknowledge that you've done the inner work to understand your patterns. These statements have far more power than "I forgive you" because they're based on evidence rather than hope. They confirm real change rather than wishing for it. And they create something that easy forgiveness never can. They create trust that's based on demonstrated growth rather than on willful ignorance of repeated patterns. The relationships that emerge from this process are qualitatively different from normal human connections. They're built on truth, accountability, and genuine respect for each person's capacity for growth and change. This is what the powerful man understands about forgiveness that most people miss completely. It's not a gift you give to make someone feel better. It's recognition you offer when someone has actually become better. And until that genuine transformation occurs, the most loving thing you can do is create the space for it to happen by maintaining appropriate consequences for harmful actions. If this video has shifted your understanding of forgiveness and relationship dynamics, comment "shifted" below and share what insight hit you most powerfully. And if you want more content that explores the deeper principles of power, relationships, and authentic human connection, follow now, because we're just beginning to explore how these ancient wisdoms can transform modern life. The next video will reveal why powerful men often appear to care less about relationships than others, and what this teaches us about the difference between attachment and genuine love. Until then, examine your own patterns around forgiveness. Notice whether you forgive to help others grow or to make yourself comfortable. Notice whether your forgiveness creates change or enables stagnation. And ask yourself, what would happen if you withheld forgiveness until real transformation occurred? The answer might revolutionize every relationship in your life.